It's strange how a single sentence can shatter everything you've built. Years of love, trust, and effort gone in an instant. That night, we weren't even arguing about anything serious. Just the usual little things. Schedules, small misunderstandings, the kind of friction every couple has. And then she said it. She looked me straight in the eye and yelled, "My ex would have never treated me like this." The room fell silent. It wasn't just the words that hurt. It was the way she said them, like she meant them, like I was merely filling a space someone better had left behind. I remember standing there, trying to hold myself together, but something inside me cracked quietly, because I had done everything possible to make her feel loved. The late-night drives when she couldn't sleep, the endless texts making sure she'd eaten, the patience when she shut me out. And still in her eyes, I was less than someone who had already walked away. I wanted to shout, to remind her of everything I'd done, everything I'd sacrificed, but all that came out was, "Then maybe you should have stayed with him." The moment those words left my mouth, I saw her face change. Shock, then guilt, then silence. For the first time, she had nothing to say. She just stared at me, as if seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. Maybe in that moment, I became someone she no longer recognized. Not because I had changed, but because she finally saw what her words had done. I stepped out onto the balcony to breathe, but the air felt heavier than usual. The city lights blurred in the distance, and for the first time, I felt the weight of being done. Not angry, not sad, just empty. A few minutes later, she appeared in the doorway. Her voice was softer now. "I didn't mean it like that," she said, but we both knew she did. Words like that don't just slip out. They come from somewhere real. Buried feelings. Comparisons never spoken aloud. Resentment she thought she'd hidden. I looked at her and gave a faint smile. "You know," I said, "I never once compared you to anyone. Not even when you gave me reasons to." She blinked, and I could tell the realization hit her, because for months, I'd listened to her bring ghosts into our relationship. Her ex's name slipping into stories. The constant he used to, reminders. I thought if I loved her harder, she'd stop living in the past. But that night, I finally understood I wasn't fighting a person. I was fighting a memory. And that's a battle no one ever wins. She turned away, maybe to hide the tears, maybe to avoid mine, but it didn't matter anymore. Something had shifted quietly, permanently. The days that followed were filled with silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that echoes. She tried to pretend nothing had changed, cooking breakfast, asking if I'd be home for dinner, sending the same little texts. But behind every word there was hesitation. Guilt has a sound, and I could hear it in her voice. I wasn't angry anymore, just tired. Tired of proving my worth to someone still haunted by what was gone. Tired of loving while competing with a shadow. One evening, she sat beside me on the couch and whispered, "I'm sorry." I looked at her, really looked, and realized how far apart we had drifted. The woman I once loved so fiercely now felt like a memory herself. I nodded, but I didn't say it back. Some apologies come too late, not because they're insincere, but because they arrive after the heart has already closed its doors. She cried that night, asking if we could start over. But deep down, I knew we couldn't rebuild something that had never truly healed. I told her, "I'll always wish you peace." And I meant it. But wishing someone peace doesn't mean walking the same road again. The next morning, as I packed my bags, she stood silently by the door. No begging, no blame. Just two people realizing that love isn't always lost through betrayal or lies. Sometimes it's lost through words spoken in anger, the kind that exposed truths we were too afraid to face. And as I walked away, I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt release, because for the first time, I wasn't fighting to be enough for someone who never saw that I already was.